A lot has already been said about prisoners of conscience, but to me, they're just people who have a very high empathy quotient, and who choose to not look the other way in the face of injustice. And I guess all of us are also prisoners of our own conscience, which is why we're here. UAPA has already been highlighted by the other panelists. So I will talk about another draconian law, according to me, which is being invoked time and again. That is the National. So this act was, it came into existence in the 31st year of our republic. And there is an unfettered amount of power that is given to the authorities under this act. And in the recent times, it has been it's been on the news a lot, especially if you talk about Uttar Pradesh, of which the example of which I will take. But before I get into the example, just what kind of wide powers the executive authorities enjoy under this act will be put into perspective once we compare them with the general principles of criminal jurisprudence. So a person who is arrested under criminal law will get the rights of being produced before a magistrate within 24 hours, the right to a legal counsel, and the right to being informed about charges, etc. But under NSA, these rights are not available. In fact, under NSA, a person can be detained for 10 days without even being told about the reason for his arrest. He's allowed to only make a representation as to why this extrajudicial detention is inappropriate, and no legal counsel is made available at the stage of this representation. Up to 3 months, a person can be detained, and for an order of detention extending beyond 3 months, a panel has to be consulted, which is an advisory panel consisting of 3 members. If this panel approves of the detention, then a person can be detained up to 12 months extrajudicially, that is, without a trial. So with this in mind, now we will just proceed on to the case that I want to talk about and how NSA has been abused in it. And it's a very famous case. It's the case of Dr. Kafil Khan. I'm sure everybody has heard about him. Just a brief background is that he's a doctor. He used to work in the Department of Pediatrics at the BRT Medical College in Gorakhpur, Uttar Pradesh. And his friction with the state government started when he criticized the cuts in public spending, and which was followed by an oxygen tragedy that happened in that particular hospital. So there was a oxygen supply crisis that led to the death of many infants, unfortunately, because the doctors were left helpless. He was arrested under various statutes like the Indian Penal Code, the Prevention of Corruption Act, and the Indian Medical Council Act. And he spent 9 months in jail. But anyway, in September of 2020, he was finally absolved. Sorry, 2019, he was absolved of all charges. Then, however, his luck wasn't to continue for too long, as one can say. He was arrested in a very dramatic manner at the Bombay airport in January 2020 for having made a speech at an anti-CAA protest in Aligarh the month before, that is in December 2019. Now, a few dates that follow in this matter will basically highlight how this particular statute is abused. So on the 10th of February 2020, he was given bail by the magistrate. But he was neither released nor was he produced before the magistrate, even though the bail order, and if somebody goes into the judgment and actually reads this in detail, even to the time, I mean, the order was delivered at 5:30. Authorities say that we only got it at 8:30. I mean, such discrepancies were there. Anyway, so because he wasn't released on the 10th of February, on the 13th of February, the Chief Judicial Magistrate again passed an order that directing the authorities to ensure that he's released. On the 13th of February itself, the authorities went ahead and invoked NSA against him, and he wasn't released. The detention was extended by another 3 months. Then it was again extended on the 17th of August 2020. So he spent a total of 217 days in jail for something for which I don't know, the trial is still pending, the case is still pending, so I don't want to comment on the final outcome. But the High Court didn't really find anything, right? But I'll just get into that. So his habeas corpus petition went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court transmitted it to the High Court, and the High Court finally did come to his rescue and passed a very laudable judgment, the Allahabad High Court, in which the Allahabad High Court, it's a judgment worth reading. It's a 1st September 2020 judgment, and I'm quoting a line from it, where the Allahabad High Court said that preventive detention is an exceptional mode to curtail liberty and freedom of a person in exceptionally rare circumstances. In fact, the High Court went on to say that the police had failed to show any objective material that led to their subjective satisfaction under the NSA. In fact, they reached the so-called subjective satisfaction in the most whimsical and humorous manner. This is what the High Court said about the police. So despite all of this, we have a few cases, once in a blue moon, where the courts do come to the rescue of innocent people who are behind the bars. Still, we have lakhs of prisoners who are languishing behind jails. And just to add to what the other panelists have already said, we feel like we live in times of an undeclared emergency, which is far more dangerous than living in the time. Not that I haven't really seen the times when there was in fact an emergency in place, but because this is undeclared, one cannot really ask for its termination. So, rampant abuse to the point that, when people were pasting posters questioning the vaccine policy of the government, just for pasting those posters, those people were arrested. People are arrested for making a speech where they question the laws and policies of the government. And once you're arrested, the process is never ending there. So, that's my limited point, is just this much, that Dr. Khan's case is one where we see a happy ending at, where the court came to his rescue. But otherwise, it's a pretty dark place where we're at right now.